Good morning. It's just after 9 a.m. in Guam, so it's probably 6 in the evening East Coast time. I'm a little bit unsure of time zones. It's probably noon in New Zealand at the moment and 10 in parts of Australia, 9 in other parts of Australia. And I didn't give you any warning about this live because my Friday changed. So I decided to go ahead and spontaneously offer this video. I had a beautiful experience this morning of seeing these white birds flying near my house. And mostly I see pigeons or blackbirds. And I feel hopeful that, Guam is getting a grasp on the invasive species of brown snakes that have been eating all the birds. And so to see these, what I imagine are some kind of seabirds, maybe it's a tern, here is a very hopeful sign. So today in our movement, I hope you find some hopefulness in your moving experience. And I wanted to focus on exploring finding stability in different body parts, not just moving with the main body parts we associate with stability, which are feet and our sitz bones. So let's have a little exploration and see what we come up with. So I'm just going to move away from the screen. And perhaps because I'm already sitting, those of you who practice yoga or those of you who have been in some kind of dance work know that sitz bones are a major part of stability when we're doing anything in the seated position. So we can start this exploration by finding your sit bones. And I taught a yoga class this morning, so I'm already a little bit warmed up. But if you're not warmed up, take your time to really engage into the sit bones and see what kind of movement comes. I mean, you might feel like you're really on the floor, grounded. Some people have difficulty with crossed legs, so they might like to put their feet out front or out to the side. But you can play with, how do you become stable, in your sit bones. So most of us throughout the day have to be sitting in a car or somewhere else. And often there's some postural things that happen. So can we find, just by being in our sit bones, that lengthened spine? We feel that lift instead of that sinking. Or why don't we play with that quality? What happens when we sink and what happens when we lift? So there's some movement you can play with where we're moving off the stability of our sit bone. So we're finding mobility from stability. So we can't have one without the other. That's why I like those 4 themes in the Mabon work. And one of them is mobility, stability. So we find those sit bones, and we find some movement relating to those sit bones. So if we want to be stable here, be stable, a little stillness, and a little bit of movement. So how does your body want to move from the stability and sit? So I'm finding a little bit of swing, a little bit of rocking. And so if I go into more movement, which I can find myself, on another area of the body. So, of course, the more parts of our body that are connected to the floor, the more stability we have. So if we come on our sides, we can have quite a bit of stability here. But then how do we find a bit of mobility? So right now I'm on my right side. So I can really ground my right side and start to find the mobility in my left side. So that's a nice way to go if you don't want to be standing to be mobile, or if you're like me and you're just a little bit older in life, you don't even leaping across the floor so much anymore, you can get some of this vigorous movement by just being on your side. So here's stability on my right side so that I can move my left side. And so I can find different ways to move. I can stretch out the other leg. But then what if I just come up and be on my side hips and my side leg? What kind of movement can I bring from this? So what happens when I just stabilize? It's actually stabilizing that bottom leg and that side hip. What happens to my movement? Where can I go with that? So I'm still feeling my sitz bone on that one, but I'm feeling that stability. And then, of course, if you want a lot of stability, you either lay on your back or you can lay on your belly, and that's quite a bit of stability here. But then what kind of movement can come out of being this stable on the floor? So you can lay here and just start to mobilize through your legs. You can lay here and start mobilizing through your arms, exploring that space. This is where in yoga the baby back bends come out of. So, you can play with some of those. But just being on the floor here, like the last live, you can find deep rest. But you can also, when you really want to find stability, be here, or you can be on your back. Some people feel more vulnerable in this position, laying on their back, and some people would rather be here. But you can play between them and see what feels good. And I like to roll myself. I like to roll on the floor a lot and just really soften. I teach people just to soften into the floor, so you find the softness in the floor and not the hardness. And you find how your body can be fluid in the floor. So that, gets into some of those places of where you can be very stable, but how do you find mobility? And some of that is just through finding your fluid self. So then I'm going to find a simple way to sit up. And one of the nice ways to sit up is through that diagonal sit up. So I'll just show you again, is that you just do that diagonal sit up where it's not a lot of effort. So I really bring my body in this is on my right side, and I really extend that arm circle and it brings me up. And so another place to find stability here, you could be on your shin bones. And so if you find stability here, then what kind of movements can come? So I might stabilize on my shins, and then I'll start to move up a little bit. And here I'm feeling my head and tail connection. So that's a nice way to, get some mobility by stabilizing the shins. So this is giving me a little bit of lower body stability and then a little bit of upper body stability. And I see that Margaret and Beth are here. How nice. This was completely spontaneous. So I just, since I can't come live tomorrow probably, I'm doing it now. So you can bring that stability here. And then, of course, another stabilizing thing is the shins and the hands, which we often see in yoga, but it's a great way to get the spine going. So you can bring stability into the hands and move the body more. And of course, if you're one of those very Athletic people, you might just find stability in the hands, doing half handstands, full handstands, which we won't do in this video, but I need a wall for some of those poses, even though I can do freestanding headstands. So, you know, that's another interesting place to find stability. Like, what if you bring your head down and find stability here? How does your movement is dictated? Now, those of you with head or neck issues, you want to be really light when you press. And just see what that's like if you're here. Now, some of you may want to press a little bit more, but just that massaging on the floor of the head can feel quite relaxing. And then you can find a little stability, a little mobility through your spine by stabilizing the head. So because I have a lot of practice in headstand, I could take this and, play around with mobility like this. I wouldn't suggest this to everybody else because you need to really have your shoulder girdle working in this. And I learned to practice headstand by starting this way. So some of you might like this, but some of you may not. So I'm not going to go off into that anymore, but that's another place to find mobility. So now we can move up to the feet, which is in our culture, besides sitting, feet and stability is part of the whole picture, isn't it? So when we find stability in the feet, we can then try and move the whole body around. And this is what we're so used to, is finding stability in the feet. And the feet work very hard for us, but they're kind of our platform for moving in this life. So how do we take care of the feet and find mobility in the feet? You can stand on one foot, and then of course again moving the whole other side, stabilizing right now the left, moving the right is what I'm doing. So that's, traditional is, walking where we're in one foot and then the other. And it's very traditional. And you can play with walking in different directions, which could be another live video, but you can just play with feet a little bit, how they move through space, and then just find that stability and play around with your mobility. See what that does for the body. And then, of course, you can have stability with hands and feet, too, which allows you to move the feet more and maybe get into the spine more, seeing how much weight you want to put on a hand or on a foot. Stretch out another side. So those are different things you can do that actually allow you some access to really stretching out back, stretching out the legs. So you can play with how much weight are on those hands, how much weight are on those foot. How's your spine connected here? And then again, we haven't done something like forearms, have we? What's it like to find stability in your forearms? With the backs of the arms or with the tops of the arms. And I can just start to move through the spine, move the legs a little bit more, and find the power in that part of the body. So this is just a little introduction of finding different places other than just your feet and your sit bones to find a bit of stability. You can find balance and supporting yourself in different body parts. And what kind of information or sensation or feeling does that give you, or shape in the body? So just by playing with that, I didn't do elbows either, did I? So if I'm balancing myself on the elbows, and of course this has my sacrum balance a little bit too, because little parts of the body are just not going to be able to balance as much weight as other parts. But that's something for you to explore. Like my fingertips, they might not, they can be actually quite strong, but you know, how much weight do they really support? And that's something that each of us has to discover for ourselves and play with for ourselves. So this is just a little tiny exploration around finding different parts of the body to find some balance, to find some stability, and then what kind of mobility can come out of that. So thank you for joining me. I hope you have a beautiful day, sleep, wherever you are in your daytime cycle, nighttime cycle. And I probably, because I'm scuba diving next week in Yap, I probably will offer a live on Tuesday morning. So stay tuned and we'll see what the theme is that arises. Many, many blessings.